All right, let's dive into Surrounded by Setbacks.
By Thomas Erikson.
Right. This one, it's not just, about getting through tough times,
Yeah.
about like using them to get where you want to go.
I like that.
So Erikson, he spent 20 years trying to get his work published.
Yeah.
Tons of rejections, but he kept at it, honing his writing, and bam, best-selling author. If that's not resilience, I don't know what is.
And what's really cool is he uses all that, his own experience, to give us like actual tools, things we can use when we face setbacks.
He's been there.
Yeah, he's not just talking about it,
Right, right. So one of the things that really stood out, this idea of Laterville.
Oh, yeah.
It's not an actual place, but it's where, according to Erikson, all the good intentions go to die. Like when you're stuck, you complain, but you don't actually do anything to change things.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever felt like stuck in Laterville? What comes to mind?
Totally. I think we all have. It's easy to get comfy there. It's familiar, safe.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it can really drain you, keep you from reaching your potential.
Ah, interesting.
Like a slow leak in your tire, you might not notice it first, but eventually you're stranded.
Ooh, I like that analogy. So how do we break free from Laterville? What's the solution?
Erikson says, take ownership.
Hmm.
And he doesn't mean just owning like what you do, but also what you don't do.
Okay.
Realizing you have the power to choose even when things feel totally out of control.
It's a big one.
Yeah, and that shift from feeling like, oh, everything's happening to me, to being the one in charge. That's empowering.
Absolutely. That pilot analogy. Remember that. Even a tiny change in direction and you end up somewhere completely different.
Right. Miles off course.
We've all had those if-only moments, looking back and wondering, what if I had done things differently?
Exactly. And that's where facing your fears comes in. Erikson says, fear isn't always bad. It's part of us. It keeps us safe from danger, right?
Makes sense.
But the problem is when fear paralyzes us, keeps us in our comfort zones.
Right. So how do we face those fears head on? Thinking about one I've been grappling with, just saying it out loud feels kind of scary.
That's good. That discomfort means you're on the right track. He suggests this simple thing. Write down 3 actions you can take to address that fear you're avoiding. Nothing drastic, just small steps. Even a tiny step outside your comfort zone makes it bigger.
I like that. And sometimes when we take action, it can make people around us uncomfortable too.
Oh, for sure.
If we're changing, growing, it might show them where they're stuck.
Yeah, Erikson talks about that, how growth can be disruptive. It might trigger insecurity in others. But we got to be mindful of that and not let it stop us.
Okay, so we talked about taking ownership, facing fears. What's next in building this resilience muscle?
He talks about the power of small, consistent actions. He has this story about Harry. Tries to change his whole life overnight, new diet, crazy workouts, the whole shebang. And it backfires.
Oh, I've been there.
Right? We've all tried to do too much at once and just burned out. Erikson's advice makes so much sense. Gradual change is more sustainable, and you need a clear why.
Your purpose.
Yeah, Harry's problem wasn't effort. It was lack of focus. No plan that worked for him. So instead of climbing the whole mountain at once, set smaller goals that fit with your why.
I love that. Not giant leaps, but steady steps. So we've got ownership, facing fears, and those small steps. What else can we do to equip ourselves for setbacks?
This is where it gets interesting. Erikson dives into these DISC model. It's a way of understanding personality types.
Yeah, the DIC model.
To explain why people react so differently to challenges.
Okay, so it's like categorizing people based on their main traits, right?
Right. Imagine 4 friends, each a different DISC type. You got the bold, red, always taking charge. Then there's sunny yellow, all about positivity, bringing people together.
Yeah.
Empathetic green is the great listener, always supportive. And then blue, analytical, loves to plan and get things just right.
Picturing them.
Now, they all hit the same setback. How do you think each one reacts?
The red is probably already solving the problem. Yellow is rallying everyone for support. Green is offering a shoulder to cry on. And blue is analyzing everything.
Exactly. And that's Erikson's point. Understanding these types, their strengths, weaknesses, and how they typically react, it's like having a user manual.
For yourself and the people you work with.
Right. You can see your own reactions coming, use your strengths, and spot your blind spots.
So it's not about which approach is better. It's realizing we all cope differently.
Exactly.
But Erikson doesn't just stop at the strengths, right? He also goes into those potential weaknesses, things we need to work on.
You got it. That's where the real growth is. Each type has its Achilles heel. The action-oriented red might struggle with patience. Yellow, who's great with people, might need to learn to take criticism. Green, always putting others first, could use some assertiveness training. And blue, so detail-oriented, might need to be more flexible.
So it's like we're allowed to be imperfect and get support where we need it.
Exactly. Not about becoming someone else. It's about building a balanced team, using everyone's strengths.
He connects this to building a strong support network, those co-pilots who believe in us and keep us accountable.
He does. And he tells a story about this woman who quit smoking by getting her whole company involved.
Wow.
Her boss had her put a big red X on her door for every day she didn't smoke. Talk about creative accountability.
That's amazing. A public statement of her commitment probably inspired others too. So we have persistence, the right support. What about adaptability? How do we become more flexible without losing sight of our goals?
Erikson says, be open to new information. Change your plans if you have to. The road to success is rarely a straight line. There'll be detours, challenges you didn't expect, and opportunities you couldn't have predicted.
The only constant is change.
Right.
But how do we know when to adapt versus when to stick to the plan? That feels tricky.
It is. That's where self-awareness and really thinking things through comes in. You got to constantly evaluate your progress, check your strategies, and be honest what's working and what's not. Stubbornness without flexibility leads to frustration. Adaptability without a clear vision, you end up lost.
It's finding that balance, holding on to your dreams, but being open to changing course.
Yeah.
I love how Erikson brings it all together. It's not just about dealing with setbacks. It's about building a life where we can thrive.
And a big part of that is knowing setbacks are going to happen. It's not if, but when.
True.
What makes resilient people different is they use those setbacks to grow and learn.
We focus on current struggles and forget all the mountains we've already climbed.
Right.
Remembering those wins can give us the strength to face whatever comes next. Didn't Erikson tell us to make a list of 100 accomplishments?
He did. And that list, it's not a one-time thing. Add to it when you achieve new things. Use it when you're feeling down.
A record of your own resilience. We've covered a lot. Ownership, facing fears, small steps, understanding personality types, and getting the right support. But there's one piece left. Redefining success. Making a vision that truly fits our values. We've all hit that wall where giving up feels easier, so how do we get that stubborn persistence when things get tough?
He keeps coming back to the why. Why does this goal matter to you? Connect with that deeper purpose. It's like your mission statement keeps you going even when obstacles pop up.
Right, when your motivation dips. And it does, let's be honest. Anything else to stay energized besides that why?
He has this fun suggestion, a reward system.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't have to be anything big. Tough task done. Maybe a really good coffee break. Hit a big milestone. Celebrate with friends. Acknowledge your effort. Enjoy the journey, not just grind it out.
I like that. Celebrate the small wins. But even with rewards and a strong why, we're not meant to go it alone, right? Erikson talks about co-pilots in our lives.
He does. Those are the people who are there for us, believe in our vision, and help us stay accountable. He tells this great story about a woman who quit smoking.
Okay.
With the help of her entire company, her boss had her put a big red X on her office door each day she didn't smoke.
Wow.
Talk about creative accountability.
Yeah, it's like a public declaration of her commitment, inspiring probably for others too. Okay, so persistence is key, having the right support. But what about adaptability? How do we get more flexible without losing sight of our goals?
He's all about being open to new information.
Yeah.
Changing your plans when you need to. The road to success is rarely a straight line.
Yeah.
Detours, unexpected challenges, opportunities you couldn't have predicted.
They say the only constant is change. But honestly, how do you know when to adapt versus when to stick to your guns? Feels tricky.
That's where self-awareness and really thinking things through is so important. Constantly evaluate your progress, assess your strategies, and be honest with yourself. Is this working or not? Stubbornness without flexibility, you just get frustrated. Adaptability without a clear vision, you're wandering around lost.
It's finding that sweet spot, holding on to your dreams, but being open to change. It's cool how Erikson ties it all together. Building resilience, it's not just dealing with setbacks, it's about building a life where you can thrive.
And a big part of that is realizing setbacks are going to happen.
It's so easy to get caught up in what we're struggling with now and forget about all the times we thought we couldn't do it, but we did.
Absolutely.
Remembering those wins can give us the strength to face whatever comes next. Didn't Erikson have us make a list of 100 accomplishments?
You did. And that list, it's not just a one-time thing. Go back to it, add to it as you do new things, use it to boost yourself up when you're feeling down.
It's like proof of your resilience, all the challenges you've overcome, and you keep moving forward. Speaking of moving forward, we've talked about taking ownership, facing fears, embracing those small steps, understanding personality types, building a supportive network. But there's one last piece I'm really excited to get to. Redefining success. Going beyond just what other people think and creating a vision that really lines up with our values. It's easy to forget, get caught up in everything going on, lose sight of what really matters.
Yeah.
But when we take the time to think about those times when we didn't think we could go on, but we did, that's powerful stuff.
Absolutely.
Reminds us we can do so much more than we think we can.
It's like building that resilience muscle.
Mm.
The more we look back at those moments, see how we overcame things, the stronger we get. And life's going to keep throwing curveballs.
Oh, for sure. Not a question of if, but when.
Right.
But the amazing thing is, we all have those stories. Those times we were resilient, we've been through stuff, messed up, and picked ourselves back up. And those experiences, those are what make us who we are.
And those stories, those lessons, they're worth sharing. You never know. Someone might be listening, someone who's struggling, and they might just find inspiration in what you went through. Don't be afraid to be open. Talk about the tough times and the triumphs. Just remind people they're not alone.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
We're all in this together, right? Going through ups and downs, learning as we go. Sometimes all we need is a little reminder that we can do it, that we're capable of amazing things. And even when we mess up, we can always get back up and keep going.
I think Erikson would agree. And you know what? He leaves us with this thought that I think is worth holding on to. Take a minute and think about the setbacks you've already overcome. Those challenges, what you learned from them, the strength you found in yourself. Let those experiences inspire you when new challenges come along, because you've got this.